I'm with Christopher Nyack. You are an occupational therapist.
That's correct.
Okay. So what is the difference between occupational therapy and physical therapy?
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
The biggest difference I personally feel as the occupational therapist is I have more of the jurisdiction to hone in on the specific functional endeavors a participant would have. Now, how I get that person to get back and involved with that, I can always revert back to some of the cornerstones of therapy, similar to what physical therapy does, the strength, the balance, stamina. But more specifically, I think the biggest difference between the two disciplines is the term occupation as a whole. Now, physical therapists, they tend to thrive off of, the gross motor skills, the musculoskeletal system, the stamina, the strength, or I pay attention to those things as well, but at the same time, I'm trying to really get into that niche of what is that going to do for the person? Do they have the desire to get back in the kitchen to handle their culinary arts? Do they need to be able to, manage the household, whether it's laundry or, cleaning of some sort? 9 times out of 10, it focuses in that morning routine. They want to be able to do for themselves as best as possible without any added help, caregiver help, or some level of dependency.
Okay, so at what point, so typically when someone comes to you, where are they in the journey? Have they just been in a rehab facility or hospitalized, or how do they come to you?
Well, particularly in this setting at Village Crossing, the assisted living environment, to some degree there's been some sort of, presence of mind where they think they may need a little bit more support around the clock versus what they may have been doing in their previous environment.
Okay.
So we're very much invested in making sure that transition is cohesive and safe and comfy for them. So right away I'm thinking, well, whether it's Jane or John, what were you doing at home? How can we get the best precision of fit for your lifestyle here to match up so it doesn't really feel like a big change?
Right, okay.
Going back to my original statement, a lot of times I need to kind of figure out, well, how am I going to do for myself immediately in my apartment? So I really thrive off of making sure they can be a master of their domain, their new apartment unit, whether it's an efficiency or a suite, whatever they've bought into. And then going beyond that, mastery of their environment, we take on the rest of the building, making sure that they can navigate through the building, get through the halls, get down through the elevator, get to the social living spaces, the dining area, and then, more recently I find myself spending time in the town square here in Warman's Mill, checking out the shops, making sure that they can regularly engage outside of the building as best as they want, covering different types of terrain. This building, has the luxury and privilege of taking the residents out in the community, going to restaurants. There are moments where I'm focusing on making sure that they can still harness those gross motor skills to get in and off the bus, or maybe they need to get into their own vehicles with their family members to travel and have, maybe a leave of absence if they're going to take a trip to go to the beach. The holidays are coming up, so that's kind of a big, turn on for a lot of them. So it's a motivating factor.
Yeah.
I more than anything, I say this to a lot of them. I want you to be able to do what you want when you want.
Right.
But I want you to be safe and healthy while you do it. So the sky is the limit. It's my job to bridge those gaps. I want to facilitate your independence. And as the occupational therapist, I just chase after what they're looking for.
Yeah. So what does that work look like? Like, are you walking with them and giving them tools to keep themselves safe? How does that look? How does an occupational therapy session?
Well, right away, you meet the person, you develop some sort of screening process. You want to figure out the profile, and then, you know, that could be followed with diagnostics, like assessments, try to figure out what's going on currently, and then you essentially kind of go into the program planning, the interventions, the sessions themselves, to get your functional outcomes. So depending on what the person's looking for,
Yeah.
where they're at compared to what they want, you know, again, I want to bridge that gap. It could
Sure.
be anything from starting with how does a person really engineer their trunk motor skills, rolling out of bed, sitting up. Maybe they need to activate their tricep muscles to push up and stand up more,
Oh, okay.
you know,
Yeah.
diligently and
Yeah.
confidently versus feeling like they're playing with their life
Yeah.
to stand up. Those are the more catastrophic challenges.
Right.
A lot of the people that are in this particular environment, they're beyond that. So sometimes it comes down to more fine motor skills, or just really finely tuning some sort of, you know, gross motor sequence that they're having trouble with. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't do well walking on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're kind of out of pace with climbing up 10 stairs in a
Sure.
staircase.
Yeah.
So we kind of hone in on those higher level dynamic balance type sequences.
Yeah.
Some of them have trouble operating the smartphones anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
we try to conduct
I might need to
few.
come to you for that.
We might,
Yeah.
you know, focus
Yeah.
in on a session on
Sure.
that, going pace by pace,
Yeah.
what it really takes to operate it. And at the same time, trying to find the best ways to modify the approach and compensate in that
Yeah.
regard.
So occupational therapy is really day-to-day activities that people want to do, and you're giving them the help and assistance in order to achieve the ones they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Whereas physical therapy is more about just strength building on the whole, or rehabbing, or things like that. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair now, depending
It
on
seems
who
some crossover, though.
There is. There's a lot
Yeah.
of gray area
Yeah,
anymore
yeah.
with how, you know, the healthcare system here works. Because,
Sure.
you know, I worked with plenty of PTs who are doing just as much with the occupation itself.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I think we all are just trying to help
Yeah, you just want...
the participant as
Right.
best we can.
Yeah,
So, but, you know, clinically speaking, physical therapy, the name in itself, physical, they're trying to make sure they can get the best out of the physical
Right.
sequences, the gross
Right.
motor skills, the
Yeah.
strength, the power. And they use a lot of, you know, standardized assessments
Yeah.
and quantitative evidence to back that up. We tend to use more of a holistic approach,
Yeah.
trying to chase after
Yeah.
what speaks to them from an occupation end.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a person can pump iron a couple dozen reps, but it might sit a little bit better if they're actually doing that same movement while applying it to maybe
Others.
something that they're enjoying, like
right.
pushing a basket of laundry.
Yes,
or, you
right,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
No, I get it for sure. So the residents here at Village Crossing have access to you and other occupational or physical therapists?
Well, here, you know, we try to utilize the insurance policies that the participants have, and we also have, you know, the options for any private pay for anybody who wants it.
Sure.
I go around a lot in circles in the building, and anybody who's flagging me down with some level of need for support, I generally just stop and help them get
Yeah.
through it. Because as a facilitator of the occupation, I want to make sure everybody's attended to. I want to make
Yeah.
sure everybody's getting what they want out of the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a great marketing piece for me personally, because then that person generates a level of trust out of Chris.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that guy
This
bailed
guy's
me out
great.
of a jam. You know
Yeah.
what? I do have some therapy needs coming up.
Yeah.
I want to work with that guy because
Yeah.
he shot me straight that
Yeah.
time. But yeah, Medicare Part A, Part B policies, private
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah, very good. Well, if there was one thing you'd want our viewers to know about occupational therapy needs, what would that be? Do you have kind of,
Well, you know, I think when it comes to occupations, the sky is the limit. You know, like I was just kind of saying earlier, it's my job to facilitate your independence in being able to do what you want when you want, but just staying safe and healthy. So you can't go wrong in
Yeah.
that regard.
yeah, that's awesome. We appreciate it. This is Christopher, Christopher here at Village Crossing, occupational therapy. It could be what you need, or maybe your loved one. You're going to have to convince them though, because they got to want to do it, right?
Right.
To get it done. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.